Happy full moon in Sagittarius. Now think of the glyph for Sagittarius. It is this tremendously strong horse, lower body, this fit man, upper body, and then there's a bow and arrow with an arrow pointing far and then shooting far. So let's go there. First of all, during the new moon that was in Taurus, we planted a seed, an idea of how we can go through the very innermost, hidden, private places in our inner life to actually reach the periphery. And that's exactly where Sagittarius is aiming its arrow. We can also think of that Sagittarian arrow actually aiming up to the spiritual realm, or at least aiming up for the stars. So when we just think materialistically, we think, oh, the periphery is at the edge of the universe, at the edge of different universes, like as far as you can go in outer space. Now, sure, that's great. But really, when we start to understand that perhaps materialism isn't the limit of our reach, then the periphery becomes something quite different than just the longest distance away. The periphery actually becomes this holy container, you could even think of it. And that's a lot of how we human beings are. We are these beings within beings within beings. So we are contained within the periphery. At the very edge of our understanding, or even maybe beyond that, is really what we would call God. Now, I know it's very hip to, instead of saying God, you could say creator or spirit. I feel like it's a little bit of our social bypassing of it, where we don't want to say God because it's provoking. But what's beautiful about saying God is that this still is such an unknown. It still is so great that we can't actually grasp it and contain it and trap it in a definition. Now, if we start to take that non-materialistic path towards the individual and the human being, we have, after God or source, we have all the hierarchies, the angelic hierarchies, and coming all the way down through the first hierarchies, the second, and then the third hierarchies, which are the archai, the archangels, and then the angels. And then we come to the human being. And this space in between the angels and the human being is really where we actually live together. While our direct experience isn't noticing how we live with our angels, our direct experience is more rooted in our individuality, in our kind of containment of being human. So we understand that there is an I, this ego that works down into us and is partly connected to God still, but really is trying to penetrate down into our subtle bodies, all the way down into our physical bodies, to help this individuation process be one that returns us to divinity, or to lets us become one day part of the angelic realms. And so in the human being, we have that ego. And then we have the astral body. And this is the body of desire and drives and mind and wishes, dreams, visions, all of that. And then we have our etheric body, which is the body that is most connected to how we respond to light and darkness, to sounds. You can, in the Vedic tradition, it's called the pranamaya kosha. And then finally we get down to the actual physical body, and we even understand that there are elements of our physical body that are much more connected to the elemental world, not just the physical materialism. But that's a story for another day. But we want to understand that it is through our thinking and our own becoming and our purifying of our astral body that we actually are affecting the angels. So when we deny all of these realms above us, when we deny the subtle bodies above us, when we deny kind of the invisible component of our own becoming, we can be fooled into thinking that our pleasure is the only goal for our becoming. And then you think of Sagittarius and you think of this bow pulling and shooting out there somewhere to the stars or something, and you think, oh, it's just about adventure and kind of a hedonistic approach of like, what are all the pleasures that I can find in foreign and distant places? But when we lift up this archetype into really searching for higher knowledge, we start to notice that it is our understanding of these higher realms and pursuing even the study of the spiritual world that allows our perception, our actions, and our very way of being to be refined so that we actually are participating in that glorious world that reaches all the way to God. So of course, it's no accident that the archetype of Sagittarius includes the pursuit of higher knowledge, but also it includes faith. So notice what you're putting your faith in. If you're not putting it in God, if you're busy denying the invisible elements of your soul, of the earth, of any beingness, then there is kind of this twisting and sickness that can happen. Because even if we don't believe in God, we still have faith and we have to put it somewhere. So Rudolf Steiner talks about how hope is the very thing that sustains our physical body. And you can even think of stories in your own life experience where that was repeated, where someone waited till someone showed up before they died. The physical body was maintained. Now the etheric body, this body is actually sustained by love and like built up by love even. And our astral body, this body of mind and desire and dreams, that is actually sustained and supported by faith. So faith, the belief in the divine, hopefully, connects and imbues and strengthens our astral body. And if you want support and help in doing that, that's where you go see an astrologer, because it's that kind of work that the astrologer is really busy with, supporting other human beings in their own becoming. So happy full moon in Sagittarius, and so much love.